Oh, right. Yeah, I thought we'd do this. It's just popped up on my YouTube. Nick Fuentes versus the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Um, I'm going to kind of play Charlie's advocate with him because, yeah, I do disagree with him, but I do, I do like Nick Fuentes. I have to say. Let's go.
This is actually deeply related to the previous topic. As you know, on Sunday, I don't even know who hosted this thing. Can anybody even tell me who paid for this? Was this a Turning Point event? Was this a government event? I mean, what even was this exactly? On Sunday, Turning Point, in collaboration with the United States government, hosted some kind of funeral slash memorial slash voter registration drive slash rally at a stadium in Arizona where basically every cabinet member of the Trump government gave a speech, which had something to do with Charlie Kirk. Some of them had more to do with him than others.
I actually did watch the whole memorial. I think he's being a bit brutal because not every member. Trump's son talked. JD Vance talked. Trump talked. Um, but you got to remember, Charlie Kirk was a big reason they got voted in. He was in with them. He was a branch of the MAGA arm. He was MAGA's branch in the colleges, and he was doing a good job at it, of it. And yeah, there's a lot of people that will say. I think even Trump said that he would have never got voted in if it wasn't for Charlie Kirk. Um, so yeah, they kind of took it on, but also the stadium thing. They did come. Someone said that because a lot of it was his pastor, his wife, obviously, and then people close to him. The first donation that Charlie got, that woman, she spoke about this young man, Charlie Kirk, that she met, and yeah, it's like, but a lot of it was TP USA people up until the last stage. I did think it was crazy that Trump headlined. It's like I was sitting there, I was thinking, Trump surely can't headline over the widow. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but he did. But then he did actually bring her on and bring her out. But yeah, let's carry on.
I suppose the intention of it was a remembrance of Charlie Kirk's life. It was supposed to be a public vigil, funeral, a send off for Charlie Kirk.
Also, the stadium. That's what I was going to say. The stadium thing. Someone actually pulled up a picture that Charlie had sent him, and said, "This is my dream for TPUSA." Like he'd sent it to him like a couple of years ago or whatever, and it was a stadium. He wanted to get to the point where TPUSA was holding events in stadiums, and then kind of, I think that's where Trump's administration strong armed that stadium into giving them the place to kind of, like they said, that Charlie actually got to see, a bit like the Moses story. Moses never got to see where the promised land. Charlie never got to see his promised land of the stadium, but yeah, that was Charlie's dream. So that's where I think the Trump administration come in to kind of lean on them.
And I'm sure you all saw it because it was carried by every television network. It had record-breaking streaming numbers, 500,000 concurrent viewers on Twitter, or excuse me, on YouTube, millions of views across the internet. I think the official numbers are in. They said they were tracking people's phones, which is interesting. Their PR guy at Turning Point, this Colvett character, who's a curious fellow. We'll talk about him maybe later. Colvett said that some intelligence.
That's another thing. The messages Candice exposed of Charlie talking about Israel come from him, that Colvett guy. And he said the reason why I give them to the FBI was because we didn't know. There was like a few days where Tyler Robinson hadn't been caught. He's like, and we really didn't want to leave no stone unturned. So that's where them messages Candice Owen has. But it come from this guy, and he's like, yeah, they are real. And he's like, I sent it to the FBI because he thought himself maybe it could be Israel. But then obviously it played out how it played out, and they they, do you know what I mean? They found the guy. And I do think Tyler Robinson did it. And if you don't, actually, write in the comments why you don't. And if there's anything you say that I don't know, I'll look into it and do a video on it. Or if I do know everything you're going to say and have an answer for it, I'll do a video answering, or at least what I think. But yeah, that's right.
Agency was tracking all the different mobile devices, which is strange by itself. They said 270,000 people attended in real life, and over 20 million people watched it on the internet. So this was a spectacle. And I'm sure you saw it, or you saw some of it. I watched it. This is the story. This is a summary from NBC. It says, quote, tens of thousands of mourners gathered in State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona on Sunday afternoon. Leaders in the MAGA movement attended, including President Trump, Vice President Vance, a number of cabinet officials, and billionaire tech executive Elon Musk. Many speakers used their time eulogizing Kirk to make renewed arguments for American conservatism with, they argued, Christianity, marriage, having children, and open debate at the core. Most focused on Kirk's legacy as an avenue to usher in a way to reintroduce and this is very poorly written, by the way. They focused on Kirk's legacy to usher in a way to reintroduce and redefine the political right, perhaps a new wave of MAGA. A new wave of MAGA. American conservatism. Interesting. Vice President Vance said the evil murderer who took Charlie from us expected us to have a funeral today, and instead we have had a revival and celebration of Charlie Kirk. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said Charlie started a political movement but unleashed a spiritual revival. Trump.
Yeah, that's what I have to say. With all the criticism of it, everybody talked about Jesus. I wonder if that maybe Erica had told them that you have to, because everybody pretty much spoke about God, Jesus, and yeah, and like say Donald Trump Jr. when what he said about Charlie, that he was at one of the early TPUSA events where where the left attacked the building. You can see it online. They're smashing the building, trying to get in. And he said, and they was literally saying, should we just not do the event? And he said, I was quite happy to leave. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to sit there. He's like, but Charlie was like, no, I ain't having them silence us, right? And he's like, and that's when I actually thought, like, yeah, Charlie's a badass. He don't care, like, yeah. But that's the thing. They all kind of, it was a revival in kind of Christianity. It was so just Christian, really. Everybody talking about Jesus and yeah, yeah. Apart from Trump.
To an old-time revival. Leaders focused Sunday on his efforts to convert young people to the conservative cause, his outreach on college campuses, his penchant for holding open debates at such venues, and his religious faith. Now, in the first place, it is very important to say, and I want to be fair, and I want to be respectful, it is very important to say it is really not my place on a personal level to judge. My intention tonight is not to pass judgment. I'm not judging the mourning widow or family of Charlie Kirk. I'm not judging his friends. I'm not judging the people in his organization. How they choose to mourn their husband, their friend, their leader, their colleague, it's their prerogative. I'm a complete outsider. I was a political adversary of Charlie Kirk, of his organization. I was banned from his events, banned from his organization. He didn't like me. He called me a demonic Jew hater. And I don't say that in an accusatory way. I mean that to say, this is not in the family, okay? What they do and how they operate, that's really their prerogative. So it's not my intention to pass judgment. And I am saying this as somebody on the outside looking in. I fully recognize that. I fully recognize that. And I'm somebody that fought with Charlie Kirk viciously and disagreed with him intensely. And professionally, I didn't really respect what he did. in terms of Turning Point USA, I was not a fan, okay, to say the least. I also want to say about it, this is not a commentary on the tragedy. I think what happened to him, I believe it today as much as I did the day that he died. I think it was unspeakable, horrific. It made an impact on me in the same way that it made an impact on a lot of you. And I didn't know the man and I didn't like the man. But what was done to him was inhuman. It was evil. It was wicked. It was despicable. And the magnitude of what was lost on a personal level, I have no personal experience with something like that. He was ripped away from his children, from his wife. We're talking about decades of memories, cherished memories, decades of love, and maybe more children, and a really an unbelievable career ahead of him. People talked about him as a future presidential contender. I think that is absolutely the case. So the magnitude of the loss cannot be overstated, and I still believe that is something that is evil, and I feel horrible about it. Okay. With all that being said, it's been 2 weeks, and at a certain point, we have to talk about this for what it is, which is a remarkable political event. It is a personal event. For Charlie, it is his death, his murder. It's a personal event for his family, for his friends, colleagues. But for America, it means something political. It has a political significance because he was a political figure who was publicly executed by a political assassin for political reasons. There is a political response on the part of the government, on the part of the people, on the part of us. There's a reaction, and now the left is having a counter reaction to our reaction. So in the same way that we talk about the assassination of Jack Kennedy, in the same way that we talk about Sandy Hook, in the same way that we talk about other emotionally charged tragedies that have immense political ramifications, we do, for the sake of reason, we have to set aside feelings, emotions, the personal dimension, and we have to, in a sober and rational way, analyze the political significance of the event and everything surrounding it. We just have to. That is what mature adults do. That is what responsible citizens do. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. This will affect my life. If the government is talking about hate speech, if the government is cracking down on Antifa, if the FCC is pressuring these television networks to suspend Jimmy Kimmel, this affects our country. This affects us. We have to talk about it. And the reason that I opened my show earlier tonight talking about it in this way is we have to understand it in principle that it is always in extraordinary circumstances that revolutions occur. It is always under extraordinary circumstances that a regime will exploit the passions, the mood of the mob, of the moment, to aggressively push an agenda that under normal circumstances would not be permitted. In ordinary circumstances, we believe certain things. There are certain things we will support and what we will not support. There are certain things that the public has an appetite for and certain things the public will not tolerate. It is exclusively in extraordinary circumstances, sensational things that give us a visceral reaction, when emotions are high, tensions are high, when people are angry, sad, when people are affected. That is when these aggressive agendas are pushed through with propaganda, by hijacking feelings, hijacking emotion when reason is suspended. And this is no different than any other thing. It is not unique.
Yeah, and that's a thing where I'd say as well, I've noticed that more and more, that every problem in our country come from after the Second World War, when you had desperate people, basically, but like it, that's where. But we still are told that Hitler is the pinnacle of evil, despite the fact that, yeah, he was. I don't think he wasn't, but keeping people focused on the war, especially our country, the war, the war, the war, Hitler. No one paid attention to actually what was happening and about to happen. And look where we are now as a country. We're literally at war ourselves. But yeah, but he's 100% right. And like I say, everything I've been watching lately leads back to it came around after the Second World War. But everyone's hyper focused still on the Second World War. It gave like powers that be ample room to do what they wanted, basically, and unchecked. Um, However, I do think it's right that they stamp down on Antifa. The left wing violence is way like, even though it's, I mean, there's a video online where it's literally, here's a MAGA supporter, and then over here, and then you hear bang, bang, and that person died, and that wasn't counted as left wing violence. Like, things aren't counted, and I recommend looking into Andy No, Andy NGO, his name is No, but looking into him. But also the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Jimmy Kimmel didn't get kicked off for because I saw the clip of what he said. He didn't get kicked off for the joke he made, which is what people tried to say. That, oh, he made a joke about Trump not caring about Charlie, and it's not. It was the bit before where he said MAGA are trying to do everything they can to paint the boy as anything other than one of them to score political points. And it was like, no, because, and this is why the whole Israel thing, and I know there's people that don't in my like watch my channel that don't think Tyler Robinson did it, but look who has from the second it happened, everyone else has been blamed other than the people that it obviously was. And if that you actually paid attention to the left and what the left has been doing for years, like I say, look up Andy No. He, like, even just his story alone, but he is someone who actually has been keeping tallies of left wing violence, basically, and it's crazy. But yeah, 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 that's what it was that, and think about it. From the second it was a MAGA guy shooting his gun off in celebration that killed Charlie. Then it was just a MAGA guy who was angry at Charlie for something. Then it was a Nick Fuentes fan. It was a Groiper. Then it was Israel, and that's where people have stuck on. And it's like it I think Nick Fuentes has one of the best points about it. If Charlie Kirk was turning on Israel, how come the last video on his channel before, the expert he come in to talk on the Middle East was Ben Shapiro? And they're like, yeah, he asked him tough questions. Not really. He did and say, what about this? What about that? What would you say to this? And what would you say to that? But he was interviewing Ben Shapiro. If Charlie was turning on Israel, why have Ben Shapiro to come and be your expert talking voice for what's going on over in the Middle East? He's like, why not bring it on Tucker Carlson? They were close friends. And also, if it was TPUSA and they were killed him because he was going to turn on Israel and all that, then why did Tucker Carlson speak at the memorial? Tucker Carlson spoke, and Charlie was losing donors because he wouldn't take Tucker Carlson, and that's where people were saying, oh, it was Israel because of donors. It's like there's literally no evidence, and from the second it happened, I've had it. It was a MAGA person. It was this. It was so obvious. If you've been paying attention, which obviously a lot of people have, and do you know what this exposed to me? Because I really thought that Charlie Kirk's death was going to be the end of woke, and all it did was spread a woke right. There absolutely has, there is, and that's what it exposed to me, that there is absolutely a woke right. Now, people say, like, when people started saying Nick Fuentes has been paid by Israel, it's like, all of the people that you like that don't like Israel, Nick Fuentes was before them. Nick Fuentes at 18 was stood against Jewish things and was anti-Israel and has had his life ruined because of it. Your Tucker Carlsons, whilst your Tucker Carlsons and your Candice Owens was getting paid a lot of money from Jews, like throughout that whole time, Candice made herself on the back of Jews. But now you take Candice Owens' word on Israel, and Nick Fuentes has been paid off. It's like no, and like I mean, I saw a Nick Fuentes thing where he said about Candice Owens. She thought UTC was Utah time. Utah time code or something. It's like, oh my god, that's who you're getting your thing of. It's like, if you're anti-Israel and you want, then he's your guy, not Tucker Carlson. And I'm 100% sure it's no doubt in my mind Tucker Carlson is paid by Islam. Like he defends Hamas. He's been over there. There's pictures of him doing all the nonsense, dressed in all the and but and I'd say Candice is paid too by Islam, especially because of who her husband is, and he's like some posh British guy, isn't he? And it's like, look at our country. Islam completely has bought out our everything, universities, everything is owned by Islam and Arabs and Arab money. So I'm not 100% sure Candice Owens is paid by Islam, but I'm 90% sure. I'm 100% sure Tucker Carlson is. And you lot will believe him. And then that Nick Fuentes is when I saw that, it was like, wow, there's there's just as a deluded wing of right that just hates Jews and blames Jews. It's like even in conspiracy things, you watch conspiracy things, and they say it's not Jews, it's Frankists. Like the Jewish part of the conspiracy world is Frankists over and over again, and then someone in the comments, yeah, it's all Zionists. It's like I'm a Zionist, but technically, because I think I think the Jews deserve to be there, and that's basically what the argument is. And it's like you can say, "Oh, genocide," all of this shit, but really, what it is you don't think that they deserve any right to be in that land whatsoever. Um, and that's your right, but like all the Zionists is someone that thinks Israel or the Jews belong there. That's their and to me, in every aspect, it is historically it's theirs. It's their land. Like so, yeah, it's like I'm a Zion. Like people just and it showed me with how like people believe Candice Owens. And to be honest, I liked Candice Owens, but not after this. And the movement that could have happened after Charlie's assassination was completely split down the middle by Tucker Carlson and Candice Owens and these types of people that are just saying ridiculous things. Like, especially Candice Owens. Everything she said was a lie. She said that guy was threatening Charlie. The guy come out, released his messages that he's had with Charlie, and Charlie was like, I the guy weren't even there, but he helped arrange it with Charlie, the meeting that apparently Charlie was getting threatened at. And it's like, she said this guy's threatening him. He released the messages after the thing, and he was like, "Oh, it was great." And basically, Charlie saying, "Yeah, we'll do it again." It's like so, and she went, "Well, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about more specifically the letter." And also, she said Charlie was praying the rosary and was this far away from becoming Catholic, despite the fact that Charlie has always been not against Catholic, but staunch Protestant. That he believes in the Protestant way. And she said, "Oh no, he's praying the rosary and he's like he was basically there, going to mass like every day, more than even Candice." And then everyone was come out and said that's not true. He's a staunch Protestant. And he's like, and then Candice said, and for some reason people were like, "Hey, where did why is everyone saying that I apparently said he was about to be Catholic?" It's like you said that, and she has done this all the way through. She said that guy was threatening Charlie. He showed the messages that he didn't threaten him. Oh, I meant actually the letter. Netanyahu released a letter. She's just didn't address it. She just went on to something else. Communist underground bees. and her new one is TPUSA killed Charlie. And I love this as well, that somehow everybody in the world now cared more about Charlie than actually the people he was closest to. Like, for example, them messages that come from a group chat with Charlie Kirk, where Charlie Kirk said, "I'm sick of Jewish donors and I'm not being bullied." It's like that come from a group chat with a lot of the people Candice Owens is accusing. But you know who wasn't in that group chat? Candice Owens. It's like all of a sudden, these people that Charlie's actually around and actually chose to be around, they're all in on it. They was all against him, but everyone else in the world cares more for Charlie than actually the people close to him do, based on yeah. And Candice Owens saying that as well is she's nuts. Candice Owens, and I wonder now watching her that I wonder if actually she did really love Charlie and if she's lost her mind watching him die like that. She's lost her mind because she seems to have there's no rudder on her ship anymore. It's every in here, there, and everywhere she's going, and it just nothing makes sense. And I listen, I think, wow, I used to like out of everybody of that lot as well. I was a much bigger fan of Candice Owens. In fact, I only know Charlie Kirk through Candice Owens, but she's, I think she's crazy. But yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I'll link this if you want to go and watch the rest of it. Sweet.